a property lose value without changing at all, without damage, without legal issues, without renovations, without anything happening to it? The answer is yes, because sometimes a property doesn't lose value in reality, it loses value inside the mind of the market. Today we're going to explore one of the most fascinating psychological phenomena in real estate, the property that burns out. Welcome to the hidden psychology of property deals. I'm Yannis Kallieris. In this series, we explore the invisible forces that shape negotiations, influence decisions, and determine outcomes in the world of real estate. Today's chapter is called The Property That Burns Out. Several years ago, I was asked to evaluate a property that had been on the market for a very long time. At first glance, nothing seemed wrong. The location was good, the property was in good condition, the asking price was reasonable, the documents were in order. And yet, buyers kept walking away. Viewings happened, interest existed, conversations started, but somehow nothing moved forward. Eventually, one buyer asked a question that changed the entire negotiation. If it's such a good opportunity, why hasn't anyone bought it yet? At that moment, I realized something important. The property itself hadn't changed, but the story surrounding the property had. And sometimes, the story becomes stronger than the facts. Most owners believe that more visibility creates more opportunity. More listings, more agencies, more websites, more exposure. At first, that sounds perfectly logical, but over time I discovered something surprising. Sometimes excessive exposure creates the exact opposite effect. Instead of creating demand, it creates doubt. And once doubt enters the market, perception begins to change. The property that burns out. At one point, I thought about giving a property for sale to 4 or 5 brokers while simultaneously listing it on 3 or 4 property websites in Greece and abroad. It was a seaside property listed at a reasonable initial price, and every urban planning and legal inspection had already been completed without a single issue. I even accompanied it with an investment development proposal showing a relatively high ROI prepared by an excellent economist with the help of a close friend of mine who was a civil engineer. I felt extremely enthusiastic about this property. I had a complete file, a ready investment plan, and I uploaded it with a full description on 2 real estate websites in Greece and 4 abroad. At the same time, 4 brokers took over its promotion. Time passed. The total number of views was extremely high. Requests for additional information were very few. Offers were 0. After 11 months, one single clear offer finally arrived, far below the listing price and almost 15% below its actual commercial value. My disappointment was enormous. I could not understand what I had done wrong, or how all my expectations and timelines had completely failed. After many thoughts, analyses, and conversations with my associates, I eventually understood something very simple. A property does not lose value only when its price falls. Very often, it loses value when it begins to appear unable to sell. In the real estate market, there is a strange phenomenon that is never recorded in contracts, yet deeply affects the final outcome: the psychological deterioration of the listing. A property usually begins with interest. Photographs, exposure, visits, questions. At first, everything suggests that the market sees it. Then comes the first period of silence. Visits decrease, questions become more cautious, responses become more general, and gradually the property moves from the category of interesting into the category of being watched. This is the first stage. In the second stage, repetition begins. The same property appears again and again in listings. The same photographs, or slightly modified ones. The same descriptions with small changes in wording or price. The potential buyer sees it not once, but many times. And at exactly that moment, something happens that has nothing to do with the actual value of the property. Repetition creates fatigue, and fatigue in the real estate market is translated very easily into doubt. If it is so good, why hasn't it sold? That question is the turning point. It no longer concerns the property itself. It concerns the market's perception of the property. And from that moment, the problem is no longer the price. It is the image of the property inside the information system of the market. A property that remains exposed for a long period of time without results begins losing its psychological freshness. It is no longer new on the market, it becomes known in the market. And in real estate, what is known is rarely considered an opportunity. Law of the burned property. The more a property is exposed without results, the more the market's willingness to see it as a fresh opportunity decreases. Psychological deterioration equation. Perceived value equals initial impression / exposure, time times / number of repetitions. In simple terms, the more a property appears without any change in status, the more the market gradually places it into a category of difficulty. And that category always produces the same result. It reduces the owner's negotiating power without anything in the property itself having changed. The most paradoxical part is that many times the initial overexposure happens with good intentions. More listings, more visibility, more effort. But in real estate, visibility without results does not strengthen value, it erodes it. The serious buyer does not react to frequency, he reacts to results. And when results take too long, he begins assuming there must be a reason. So without any change occurring in the property itself, its position inside the mind of the market changes, and from that moment, the negotiation is no longer based on value. It is based on suspicion. So what can property owners learn from this? First, a property needs strategy, not simply exposure. More is not always better. Second, monitor how long a property stays on the market. Time changes perception, sometimes faster than price changes. Third, pay attention to consistency. Different prices, different agencies, and repeated listings often create confusion, and confusion damages confidence. One of the biggest misconceptions in real estate is that markets evaluate only objective facts. Square meters, location, price, condition. But markets evaluate something else as well. Confidence. And confidence is surprisingly fragile. Once buyers begin asking, "What's wrong with it?" the discussion changes, the negotiation changes, and often the final outcome changes as well. The property that burns out reminds us that value is never determined solely by reality. It is also determined by perception. A property may remain physically unchanged, yet its position inside the collective mind of the market can change dramatically. Because eventually, every property stops being judged by what it is and starts being judged by the story surrounding it. Over the last chapters, we explored the double game, the phantom listing, the low anchor technique, and finally, the property that burns out. Different situations, different negotiations, different mechanisms, yet all connected by one common idea. Real estate decisions are rarely driven by facts alone. They are driven by psychology. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. New insights into negotiation psychology and property strategy are coming soon. And if you know someone trying to sell a property without success, share this episode with them. It might help them understand what the market is really seeing. I'm Yannis Kallieris. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next episode of The Hidden Psychology of Property Deals.